Let's welcome our host, Erica Wilson.
Great day, everyone. We're here live today with the girl, Erica Wilson, that it had to happen for our Wisdom Wednesday. And tonight I have Mr. GW for you guys. Oh my gosh, is he a breath of fresh air? I had the honor of watching some of his TikToks that literally blew my ever-loving mind. He's a 52-year-old, born and raised in Arkansas, guys. Amazing young man, yes, absolutely. And he loves traveling around to the HBCUs. And I'm telling you, the videos that I watch, they really inspired me. I'm telling you, really inspired me. I knew I had to call or text or get in his DM to try to get him here on the show. And I'm glad that he responded. So we all know everything's happened on God timing. And tonight we have Mr. GW with us. So without further ado, let me introduce to some and present to others, Mr. GW. Welcome.
What's going on, Erica? Sorry for all the technical difficulties.
No, it's okay. But if I could just have you turn your phone really quick so we can have it all. Perfect.
It worked?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my God. See, let me tell you something. The enemy tried to block this and he didn't want, this message to get out there because you have such great content, Mr. GW. And it just literally blew my mind with some of the videos that I picked here on tonight. And when I spoke with you, you were saying that you like to be transparent, and what a way to be on It Had to Happen. But if you could go ahead and tell the people a little bit about who is Mr. GW.
Well, like you said, I turned 52 this past Saturday. 8 years ago, I was in prison. I actually walked out of prison 8 years and a week ago. I was born and raised in Arkansas to a truck driver father, stay-at-home mom, normal childhood. I had my its, and we'll talk about it. But I grew up in the South where a lot of stereotypes you think would apply to me probably did. And growing up with that, I came up in a different way. I went to a PWI, I've had careers, prison, a lot of different experiences, but I don't think you can really pigeonhole me except I'm a small town boy. And I'm on a journey like no other.
Oh, wow. Let me tell you, well, congratulations. 8 years and a day, you said?
No, 8 years and a week ago, I got out of prison and I slept 30 yards from the execution chamber. I had to see those doors every day in and out of my barracks.
Oh, yeah. God. We're going to jump into that. Like, whoa. Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's not a fun place.
I'm sure. Oh, my. Wait, see, I'm stuck for words right now because I didn't know that you were that close. I think I heard it in one of the videos, but not just that close as you're telling me now. But, it's an honor to sit with you here tonight. It Had to Happen. And, this show is all about the it's that transpired in one's life, right? Because we don't know why the it's happen. We know that they do happen, but they happen to us for us to share with others. And what way to better tell someone how to get through something if you never walk through it? You have to walk through some things in order to tell others how to get through them, by sharing your experience, not telling them what they should do, but just sharing your experience. And thank you so much for accepting the invitation to be here on tonight. But since you started out with what you were saying about being in prison 8 years ago and being across from the chambers, just go ahead and jump into that really quick.
I was an opiate addict, not fentanyl. It was hydrocodone, and I had a voracious addiction, about a 10-year downward spiral that I had arm surgery, and doctors gave me 600 hydrocodone. I took religiously, and no one told me what happens when I stopped, and that just spiraled. And I became a jewel thief, basically, is what I did. I became a thief to feed my habit. And, that's a guilt I don't know how to get rid of, to be honest with you. I worked through a lot of things, but that's one part of probably what drives me is that guilt, because I can't repay those people, those victims. Mm-hmm. I never can, and they'll never benefit directly from me. But that's always in the back of my mind. And so I went to prison. I was sentenced to 13 years in prison for my first time in trouble for residential burglary. It called for probation. I was made an example out of, which at the time angered me. But now I see the gift from God that it was, because God didn't tear me down. He didn't break me. He built me brick by brick. My foundation's rock solid. I had to go through it, and it just, prison, as horrible as it is, changed me in a lot of fundamental ways because I did my time. I didn't let my time do me. I saw some violent and vicious acts you've ever seen. I've also saw some of the most deepest humanity I've ever seen in those walls. So, and I will say this right off the bat before I forget. When I was sentenced to 13 years in prison, my first time in trouble, and I'm seeing people of color in court sentenced to 2 and 3 years for the same thing. Now, granted, mine was a big crime spree. I don't want to, minimize mine.
Right.
But my attorney, I'm like, why did they throw the book at me? And she literally looked me in the eye. She goes, because you're white. They don't want you back. She goes, they're trying to get your attention the first time. She goes, these other guys you're seeing, they're in the system. They're in the cycle. And that's just part of the prison cycle. And they don't want, I was 39 years old. I'm college educated. You know what I mean? Like that late in life had happened. And when she told me that, I was like, and then I started to see the disparity in the justice system, how it discriminates against poor people. You know what I mean? I started seeing with my own eyes.
Yeah.
It was revealed to me. It was the only way I know how to say it.
Oh my God. So you spoke about you had an arm surgery, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they gave you these opioids, and you said, what actually happened once you stopped taking them? Like, I really don't know either. So
the worst place to detox is in jail. Basically, it's like the flu for a few weeks, and then it's like a really bad cold, feverish, aches. You can't sleep for days. You have, diarrhea extensively, and they don't give you anything for it. You just suffer the misery of can't sleeping. It's hard to walk up and down stairs. It's rough. It's a hard place, but I had the ability to buy contraband pain pills in jail, and I didn't, even though I was detoxing and I had the money. And I thought, if I don't take this opportunity, because I realized in those 4 walls, God saved me. He protected me from myself. And I learned that lesson like in the first week. I saw it for what it was, and that made it a little bit easier.
wow. And you also said that you, like, when they kind of like threw the book at you per se, and you got all of this time and you're like, why is this happening to me? Again, we just spoke about the it's that transpire, and we never know why they happen. But had not that happened the way that it did, who knows where you would be today?
Dead. Dead.
Wow.
There's because I went into houses, people weren't home. It wasn't robbery. But that same week that I was arrested, a young black kid had went into a house there outside North Little Rock, and it happened to be a state trooper who worked nights asleep at home and sat up, shot him, and killed him. And that could have been me. Do you know what I mean? That easily could have been me. And the moment I saw that on the news, I knew I was where I needed to be, as much as I hated it.
Oh my God. Wow. And just, Jesus. Okay, so take us a little bit back. We're going to jump back into this, but take us a little bit back to your childhood, where you were born and raised, and how things were coming up.
I was raised in a town of about 5,000 in Arkansas, a suburb of Little Rock. I was a really big kid, very hyper, really good grades. I was the black sheep. I have 2 sisters, one older, one younger. My dad's a Vietnam veteran. He and my mom been together since high school. He passed in 2011, right before their 50th wedding anniversary. I had good parents. They have good and bad, of course, but I will tell you this, if you'll indulge me for a second, when you talk about it moments. January 5th of 1986, my dad was diagnosed with multiform grade 4 glioblastoma, which is one of the most fatal forms of cancer there is. Was given a year to live. December 26th of that year, I contracted spinal meningitis, went into the hospital for a few weeks where I almost died. January 5th of 1987, the day I expect my dad to pass away, it's exactly a year. I'm 15 years old. I don't understand. He comes up to see me. A little while, my mom and sister come up to see me. And then our pastor comes in and said, hey, there's been a fire at your house. Literally, like in the hour or 2 that my mom had left, our house burned down. The doctor came in that afternoon and said, hey, we're going to release you tomorrow. Now, I've been in the hospital for 3 weeks in quarantine, and now we don't have a house to go to. My dad's going to die anytime from brain cancer. And we just, by the grace of God and some kindness of strangers, we got through it. But I want to tell you, he didn't die that day. Fast forward 14 years, he was diagnosed with colon cancer in 2000. 2002, he's diagnosed with brain cancer again, given a year to live. 2006, he was diagnosed with stage 4 melanoma, given a year to live. 2010, he got brain cancer a third time, and that's what got him. When I got out of prison and talked to my grandmother, sorry I'm talking so long, but defines me. She told me her and my pop used to pray for my dad to get off the road driving a truck because he was not sleeping. She said, I never thought God would give him cancer. And in that moment, that single moment, I got it. I literally, everything clicked for me because my dad was never home. As soon as he got cancer, he was disabled. My dad was at every football practice game for 25 years. I had a father. And I met guys in prison who never knew their dad. And I had a dad every day for 25 years. That's what brain cancer gave me. And that one day in the hospital when our house burned down was the worst day of my life. I've never had a bad day since. How can I? That's the worst ever.
Oh my God. Let me tell you something. To hear you say that was the day, like basically it registered and clicked with you, it says a lot. And when a bad situation happened, we never understand why, it's happening to us. And for him to get cancer repeatedly and given a time, that's a perfect example of it's not what the doctors and the nurses say, it's what God says. Whenever he's ready, we all have a begin and an end date, right? And no matter what the doctors tell us, we have an end date. We cannot cheat death. But you were able to take something bad and turn it into something good. You just said you never had a bad day since. You could have complained when you got out the hospital. You didn't have a home to go to. You lost your father. You would never see him again. It was just one thing after another, but you never complained. You took the bad and made it into something good. And now you're here today. And this is why I love the topic that God has loaned me. It had to happen. And guys, we're here live tonight with the American Experience with Mr. GW. Oh my God, if you missed the first part of this broadcast, you definitely have to go back and hear the first part because Mr. GW shared some great things, things that probably would break some. Not only, let alone being in prison, but being across from the chambers where people is losing their lives. You already experienced the death with your father, but now you're seeing this. How did you avoid that? You're right there. So how did you avoid, did you ever turn away or try to focus, on something else?
I tried to imagine what goes on in there. What's it like to be in your last moments, being escorted in? No executions happened while I was there, but you still see it every day. Men perish there, and it's crazy. I mean, I guess if you think about it, but you don't. I know your son played for the Dallas, right?
He played.
Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
The first stabbing I saw in prison was an argument over who's the greatest Dallas Cowboy quarterback of all time, Staubach or Aikman. And I'm personally like, whatever, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers, because I'm a Steeler fan. But this went over 2 or 3 days. It got so heated. And one day in the chow hall, one guy walked up the other and let the air right out of him, stabbed him. But there's a game you play when it occurs. You call out how many times you think a person's been stabbed. And you put $1 up against it because we hear back from medical. This is how you deal with the brutality. You make it something else. So like in that instance, I called out 7.
Wait. Did you just say it's a game?
Not a game. You have to make a mental, you can't think about the brutality of what you're seeing. It'll eat your soul. You have to find a way to compartmentalize and shift because I got to come back out into society, and stabbing people, arguing over opinions is crazy. But you have to find a way to shift your perspective in there so it's not affected when you come out. It's almost like an alternate reality because I was told this and now I understand it. There is no way to explain prison to you. If you've never walked through that fence, you will never understand. And there's no way I can convey it to you. People tried and I understand what they meant till I went. There's nothing in our language that can describe it.
Oh my God. These guys were arguing over a Dallas Cowboy game. You know what? Let me tell you, this is why I love this show, this broadcast, not just because I'm the visionary, but everything it falls right into place. Mr. GW, just the other day, it was a young man, 2 young men at a game, and I believe it was the Steelers, if I'm not mistaken. And one punched the other after they had a heated argument, and the guy died.
Patriots game. Yeah, I think it was. I know
Oh,
it was. Yeah, my girl Anna told me about that. I'm like, we were just talking to the New York. We were just in New York for the HBCU NY Classic this past weekend, and I was talking to some New Jersey State Police outside with assault rifles, and I was like, really that much? He goes, we have stabbings, shootings, assaults. He goes, at most every game. He goes, it gets pretty exciting. I'm like, are you serious? He's like, yeah. So who knew?
And it's so scary because the thing is, at the games, like even the collegiate games, right? We have a family section, but sometimes we don't sit in a family section. We sit with the others, and to see all that takes place, it is just, it's mind-boggling. I don't recall when Alan was at the University of Miami, I don't recall too many brawls. And, well, not too many. Let me say that. I don't recall too many. However, even at the pro level, just to argue, and I have to be honest, I indulged in some of them, especially when you're talking about my son, But the thing is, it never got to a level where it got physical. But just to hear you're in prison, these guys is arguing over this, and somebody loses their life.
No, he didn't die. He just got stabbed 7 times. No, he lived. It takes a lot to somebody just with a stabbing. It really does. It's not common that way. It just has to be. Okay. But most time it's how they settle a score. But we put $1 up. Like I said, I called out 7. I just am trying to mentally, focus on the number of times, not the brutality. I called out 7, and sure enough, about an hour later, word gets back to us for medical. It was 7, and I made like $6.
Oh my God.
It's just how you process.
Now, this is my thing. Okay. This guy lived, so he had to come back out.
They'll be separated. They'll be separated.
Okay.
They won't go back around each other. Hopefully.
Okay, so now the one who did the stabbing, is he like the big guy now? Like, the cool guy?
No. He's the idiot, in our opinion.
Right.
Because he's probably, I don't even know what happened to him. They take him away to the hole. We won't see him again. He'll be transferred. He might catch a free world charge, which might be more time. He might not get any time, just prison disciplinary. It takes a lot to get a new free world charge. It has to be really bad. Otherwise, because they're going to keep you longer. It's a weird system.
Now, let me ask you this, because I don't know what free world charge is. What is that?
That means if you're in prison and say you assault somebody, like you beat them that's a first-degree battery, correct? Like out in society.
Okay.
In prison, you can't catch a felony in prison. It has to be they go out to an outside court to charge you and sentence you, even though you're in prison. The prison itself can't do it. So they have to create new charge, new indictment, all the way through a hearing, a plea, or a trial, whatever it's going to be, and they'll either concurrent or consecutive on sentencing. It's this weird ecosystem.
Holy cow. So if someone gets in trouble there, they have to go out to another court, or do they even go to court? They just...
Oh yeah, it depends on what it is. If it's like just a fist fight, we're both going to go the whole, and depending, we might have to do a year more for that single fist fight. Whoa. So there are times a guy's bragging about going home, and there's a lifer who will walk up and just jack the jaw of that kid going home. That kid ain't going home for a year.
Even though he got hit.
You fight, yeah, no tolerance. So the crazy thing is, if I get into it with somebody in my barracks, right, going to chow is the time you're most likely to get caught. When you go to work, most of the sergeants won't say anything, about it. They know we're rough, we're violent. But chow hall, you got more of the prim and proper, and they see it. They're going to ask questions and investigation. 2 people are in trouble. So let's say I got in a fight with a guy. I've got to feed him out of my box in the barracks, like noodles or soups, so he doesn't go to the chow hall, so he doesn't get seen, and we both get in trouble. But the interesting thing about that a lot of times is that's how you find common ground with a guy you just fought, because now you're feeding that guy, whether you win or lose. Usually the winner feeds the loser, unless the winner just doesn't have any food. But it's a weird dynamic.
Oh my, that is. Listen, even out of that bad situation, something good comes out of it, because guess what? Now you guys fought each other, so now you're forced to be with each other. And then when you're forced to be with each other, you get to learn things about that person and why that person may walk around so angry or may walk around with a chip on his shoulder. You never know, but you get to learn that person. So out of that situation, now you're in with this person, knowing that you guys just had a battle out in front of everybody. And then for everybody to come back out to see you guys okay, that's an example. That's a great example.
It's just weird. I mean, I could tell you a million stories, but like I said, I saw humanity, and then I've been around pure evil. I've slept around it. People who hurt children literally slept beside me or at the head of my bed, and they talk. You know, and I will stand up and say I'm a big man. I'm a really big man, and I just, you know, I don't want to hear that.
Not, you know what I mean? What they did to the child.
Oh, but they'll talk. And they'll talk around it. Like I'll tell people all the time, a person like that will hurt your kid is not a stranger in a park. Those odds are astronomical of ever happening to a mother. And I know people worry, but the odds aren't worth worrying about. It's that somebody on the fringe of your circle that makes the hair on your neck stand up or you're just a little uncomfortable with. That's that person.
Whoa.
I learned that when I was 7. I had a baseball coach that my dad saw inappropriately kind of coming around to hold the bat. My dad yanked me out of there, and I was crying, upset because I didn't understand. Yeah. Years later, he got arrested in California for it. My dad saw it, and so you would hear things, and you know, for them, it's about the hunt. It's not the gratification; it's the hunt.
Wow!
And I'd blow your mind if I told you how prison tries to rehabilitate them. It's a joke. It's ridiculous. It's an 18-month program the federal government funds, and yeah, I forgot what they call it, RSVP. It's nuts. It's just
what? You know, I mean, this right here, when you touched on that, it's kind of it's not really sensitive because it had to happen, you know. I was 10 when something happened to me.
I saw that.
5, you know. And then, like you said, you didn't understand then, you were upset that dad snatched you out. I didn't understand then when that happened, but now I get it. It had to happen. And people say, how do you say that? It built me for who I am today. I walk in my purpose boldly, and I can almost identify anyone that has ever happened to. And when I begin to tell my story, others begin to open up themselves. But to hear you say that these guys are really sitting around, monsters.
Yeah, and there's so many of them in the Arkansas prison system. They're not attacked and beaten, anything like the movies portray it. Because out of 2,000 inmates, 300 might have those charges, and they stick together, and they're still men. You know what I mean? They have to look out for each other. So we just completely cut them off like they don't exist to us. I won't talk to them. I don't have it. You hurt a kid or a woman, I got no use for you. Don't come in my space. You know what I mean? Like I don't have any room in my heart for people like that. And I was surrounded by them.
I'm glad that you just put that out there. Like, you know, because that's what we think. Like when things happen like that, oh, they'll get them in prison, you know? And just
I'll give you a horrible one. His name is John Adams. I remember he was waiting to go home, got out while I was still in prison, came back a year later with a new charge from a child. He only got a 5-year sentence the first time and a 5-year sentence the second time. He only has to do a year on each one. He couldn't get out the first time because no halfway house would take him. He has no family. The second time he found a halfway house to take him. He touched 2 kids. Yeah.
And 5 years and did 1 year on each charge?
Yeah, he could have paroled in a year, but he couldn't find a place to go, so he did his full 5 the first time. The second time, he only did 2 out of his 5 because he found a halfway house. And he actually had the audacity to come in and say bye to me in my cell when he was leaving, and I threw him out of the cell. I have no use. You know what I mean? Like I just brought back out. But this is what we let back out into society.
Yeah.
And we see it. We know they're going home. We know they're coming back. And the thing is, he got caught with 2 kids. How many did he not get caught with?
Absolutely. That's
they caught him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. I want to tell you something. First off, you look amazing tonight.
Thank you.
And second, you are what I call a stereotype to a solution. You were a teenage mother in Miami. You raised 2 boys as very successful young men. You are very successful. You are literally a stereotype to a solution. You know what I mean? You deconstruct a stereotype people would place on you, people like I would have placed on you. And you embody that it is completely not right. So I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. And that's one of the things I like to talk about. I have a nonprofit organization for single moms and underserved youth, right? And that's one of the things they stigmatize coming from a single mom. Your kids are not going to be this or that, or, we beg to differ. And I just thank God that what he has done in our life, nothing that we did, but everything that he did in our lives. We had to go through everything that we did to birth us for our purpose, Daryl, Allen, and I. It wasn't just about me. Yes, I had them, but at the end of the day, God made it a way where my mother was there, their grandmother helped out as well. And he was there every step of the way. So I don't regret anything, nothing that I've been through, will go through, because this is a thing called life, right? We're all going to go through something. But I really and truly do thank you for giving me my roses while I'm here. Thank you so very much. And that is the thing with this, judging a book by the cover. And I watched one of your TikToks, and the very first one I saw when you were talking about how you overcame being a racist. This is one of the things we sweep under the rug most of the times. But for you to come out and really give us the dynamics on what, and just to walk us through that says a whole lot.
I just put part 4 out today, and it basically it's forgiveness and white guilt. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of, the whole point of this is because people of color don't understand what it's like to be in the mind of someone like me. We talk about all this, but if I can let you see into my thought processes and how they were and what they've become, maybe it's easy to understand the people you're dealing with. You know what I mean? Like you can come at them a different way, because I have found people of color to be so incredibly merciful and gracious to me. It's insane. Like I feel so, my cup runneth over, because I'm trying to be honest so people can. My grandmother said, if you want to see change in the world, be the change. And people have to see the change for them to understand the change. And she beat that in my head. And now at 52, I'm trying to embody that.
Wow. So let's go ahead and we're going to play that clip really quick. It's the first one because, guys, let me tell you, on his TikTok, if you're not following him, George, GW, can you tell us how we can follow you?
On TikTok, it's with George W.A.
I'm sorry. Sorry. I tried to take me off.
On TikTok, it's WHITGEORGE, Wit George. And on Instagram, it's the Wit George. It's my name, GW, inverted with what it stands for, Wit George.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and roll this clip. I have 3 different clips. I'm going to stop them and play them. But this one here, guys, please do take heed to what he's saying. Because George, GW, you said it. You said people of color cannot even fathom what goes through your mind, and it's vice versa. But if we had people to think like this, world would be a better place.
Being a racist, part 1. I've been asked probably well over 1,000 times in the comments and messages why I chose to confront my own racism and my prejudice ideology. So I thought I'd just have an honest conversation with you and break it down over a few parts and let you see into the mind of someone like me, the way I grew up, and the man I'm becoming. Now, here's the crazy thing. I've only ever known one racist in my life for sure, and that's me, because I can't speak into the hearts and minds of another human being and what they think and feel. That's not fair, and that's prejudicial of me. So I'm the only one I've ever known, so I feel I can speak with authority about this. I'm not calling out other people who are. This is simply about my evolution and the things I confronted and some of the difficulties and some of the beautiful parts of this. This is not an easy thing for me to do. This is kind of laying my soul bare. So if you would, let me know if this is something you want me to continue in the comments, please, because it's going to take a lot for me to invest emotionally to be open about this. Now, why is it I grew up with so much prejudice and bias and discrimination in my life? Well, I grew up in a small town in Arkansas, and I am Arkansas proud. Let me just say that right off the top. But I grew up with people who taught me these things, and it was instilled in me. I mean, it was just reinforced over and over. And then for the most part, I lived in an echo chamber of other people who thought the same thing. So I didn't know it was possible to think any other way. I was raised Christian. I cannot explain to you why my faith in God, my morality, and my racism took so long to cross paths.
Wow.
I can't explain it, but it probably took about 40 years to figure that out. There's a whole series of events in my life, I guess, ultimately that led up to this. And prison was probably one of the biggest catalysts, because when you're on 23-1 lockdown with someone of a different color from you in the same cell, you shut your mouth and you listen. You ask questions. And I had so many different cellmates from different countries, from different races and heritages. And it just really opened my mind. And sitting in prison, I had a lot of time to think. And I had some old timers tell me, I need to do my time. Don't let my time do me. And those are good words of advice. But I started digging deep into myself and my flaws, and because I was probably the biggest asshole I knew at that time, and I wasn't proud of that at all. And I knew I needed to change if I wanted to live a productive and healthy life and just be somebody likable. I just couldn't see the world for the way it really was. And that breaks my heart that it took me so long to see it. But the beauty that is born from this change in me, or this growth, is just crazy. God is amazing. So if you want me to continue this, let me know and I'll do a part 2.
Whew. Awesome, awesome, awesome. What led up to that video?
I go to these historically Black colleges and universities, and I've had so many conversations with people, and I didn't know how to answer these questions for a long time because I'm just figuring out the answers. And if you ask me tomorrow, it's going to be a little different, because after our conversation today, my perspective is going to be a full degree wider. So one of the goals of what I'm doing is to let people see into my type of racism. And there's all different kinds, but
Right.
I'm tired of people screaming at each other about it. To be honest, we don't talk about it. No person of color's ever asked me, like, what's it like to be you? How do you think? And I think a lot of people would like to know, and I think they just feel it's impolite to ask. So I just thought I'd offer it, and I'd try to bridge a gap in some way.
And you did just that, DW. You did just that. And that's, again, I heard you say it was something that was taught. And this is the thing. Some of the things everything that we're taught is not always right. Because all of us make mistakes, even our parents, parents, we make mistakes, our children make mistakes. But the thing is, just to see and hear what you were saying, that it was being taught. So people of color, or even anyone, they may look like, you see sometimes when a Black person a person of color walk down the street and a white person is passing by, they clutch their purse. But the same thing is when a woman is walking by and we see a person of color that maybe look a little hood or whatever, we clutch our purse still. So, like you said, there's different kinds of racism. But to know that you put yourself out there, and to hear you say you wish someone would ask you, who are you? How are you? As a person, that would negate so many other things than what people are really thinking in their head, because it says God is the only judge. That's what it says, right? And there also is a saying don't judge a book by its cover. So one may look at you and think that, oh, you may be this big racist, but even getting a chance to even sitting with you and getting to know who you are. And that's one of the things I love about the prison story, about when two fight, they put them together and one learn each other. This is the thing. Get to know people that's under the sound of my voice. Get to know others before you go. Don't even judge them. We're not supposed to be judging them anyway. But get to know people before you put whatever it is that you want to put on them, or say whatever it is you want to say about them. Because if you never walked in their shoes, how could you say anything about them?
Speaking of, this is complete tangent, but walking in their shoes. Next year, I plan to walk across America, New York to California, ocean to ocean, because it's something I did in my head in prison. It was an escape because I sat 28 days in solitary. The light never went off and I was going mad. So I just envisioned this and dreamed about it and thought about it. Now it's become part of my life. I feel like I am called to do it. But part of it's about 3,200 miles. But the first 500 miles, because of going to these schools and studying, Booker T. Washington walked close to 500 miles across Virginia in the wilderness in the 1860s as a 16-year-old freed slave, or formerly enslaved man, with no middle initial, no last name. How can you, and across Virginia as a young black, teenager, how can we ever understand his desire and commitment and gamble on his future? That man did amazing things in this country and our education system, but no one's willing to do that. And I want to do it. I want to know step for step, mile for mile, what it feels like. And I'll have an RV or I'll have a place to stay. He didn't have those comforts. Right. He had roads. But I want to chronicle it so people can appreciate how far that is. And I'm not even sure he had shoes, to be honest with you.
Right.
But that's somebody, that's a fellow American of mine was willing to do that. And I want to know what it feels like.
Guys, we're here live tonight with the girl, Erica Wilson, and it had to happen for our Wisdom Wednesdays. And tonight's topic is the American experience with Mr. G.W. Again, if you're just logging in and you missed the first part of this broadcast, afterwards, please do go back to hear some of the jewels that was dropped here on tonight. But moving forward, so now you're traveling all around. You're going to all of these HBCUs. I have a clip here that I want to play. You actually went to the Apollo. And the one thing that I love about this is the focus could have been on you. You could have took the whole entire focus and made it about you, okay? But that's not something that you did. You chose to share your light. And this is what we need to do as people. It's not all about us. But just to see this clip, I told you, I said, Mr. GW, you definitely have to send me this clip. So let's go ahead and we're going to roll that clip really quick because that was amazing.
There's a woman in Shelbyville, Tennessee named Toledo Johnson. Her dream is to see her son, Terrell, perform his art on stage at the Apollo Theater. Ladies and gentlemen, meet her son, Terrell.
Amazing. Tell us what that was like.
I actually met Terrell at the Uncle Nearest Whiskey Distillery in Tennessee while we were traveling for schools. Actually, my girl Anna did. And we hit it off with him. He's an Army veteran. He's an artist. He's just a really cool guy. And we have a friendship. So we flew him to New York. He was going to help us film. And he knows I was going to be on the stage at the Apollo. And he was kind of joking. Yeah, my mom's dream is to see me someday do art on stage at the Apollo. And I'm like, huh. So I made a phone call to Albert, the promoter and event organizer, and I said, what do you think? He's like, I don't want to know more, just surprise me. But it was a big pain to get that done on stage at the Apollo because they want to make sure no paint was on the ground, nothing. So the light was shot. I was given an opportunity and I had a chance to just share that opportunity too. And it just felt right. He's a good dude. He's a great artist. And I just want to give his mom a gift.
Oh my God. That says a whole lot about you. That says a whole lot about you. But just to go through the channels of getting him that dream of his, oh my God, I could only imagine. Some would just take that time and really focus on what they have going on. But it's a time when you could take a step back and say, okay, let me showcase someone else. Let someone else have the light. Because Mr. GW, I remember there was a time when 88 Blessings had this interview and we had a PR person. And I, told the PR person, you go ahead and speak. You know about the organization as well as I do. And a question was brought up to me like, why didn't you do the interview? No, sometimes what happens if I can't be there? Or what happens, sometimes you have to just take a step back and let others have that light. It's not all about you. It's sharing is caring, period. That's what I tell people. But just to see a big moment like that you have at the Apollo, this young man, I'm talking about, this is something that money cannot buy. This is something that will go with him for the rest of his life. I don't care if you never see him again, he'll always remember what you did for him. So I want to say thank you for that. That is amazing.
It felt right. I mean, it was just, and we got to meet Jasmine Guy and Hakeem
What?
from Different World. We got to meet them backstage. They were fantastic. It was a magical night, and we decided to start doing art together. We're together while I'm doing a story. He's going to create a piece of art in that 5 to 8 minutes, maybe graffiti. He paints football fields. We thought about doing the drone, but it's the story through my blue eyes, and the vision is through his brown eyes. Because when you mix brown and blue, it doesn't make a color.
Oh my God.
When you think about that, there's no color. Now, that doesn't mean our heritage, but we're just taking the color part out, and we're just going with human beings.
Right.
But listening to me tell a story like on Black American history through my blue eyes and taking that and coming out with the vision through his brown eyes. So we're just kind of showing community that way. And as we go to campuses, whenever he goes, it'll be a one of one piece because the one he did at the Apollo has already been bought.
Are you kidding me? That is amazing. So shouts out to the young man. What is his name again?
Terrell Sketch Johnson. What's up, Terrell? Terrell is just a good dude. He's a solid dude. And that's why I told him God put you in my life for a reason. We're going to meet him at Tennessee State when we go down and do their homecoming because he lives in Nashville. So yeah, it's amazing.
Oh my God, that is amazing. So now, not only did you do the Apollo, I see that you told me also that you were at the Classic. Tell us about that.
We went to the football game, Morehouse in Albany State, and we had VIP all access passes, which I've never had that in an NFL stadium. It was so fantastic seeing the Morehouse and Albany State bands. I got to see a step show. I know like the Omegas, the Alpha Kappa Alpha, they were all in there. And I was the only white person in the room, and I did not feel the least bit uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like, it was just really cool because I got to experience that energy. And if you don't know anything about an HBCU step show, even impromptu, you are missing out on something. I'm going to tell you right now.
I've always wanted to go. I never been, but I saw, you see the little TV shows or whatever, but I'm sure it's on another level when you're there in person experiencing it. Oh,
the energy is incredible.
I'm sure. So what gave you like what gave you this passion to follow these HBCUs and want to, I see you did an interview there as well. I didn't put that one on here. I wish I would have though. But what made you want to go to these HBUs and get to know what it is that they're maybe talking to some of the kids, you're finding out, a little bit about them, letting them know who you are. So tell me, how did that get started? And, when did that get started?
I spent a couple of weeks studying the history of historically Black colleges and universities to make a video. And I made a video on it. It did really well, but maybe 2 days after I was reading the comments, right before Memorial Day, I looked at Anna, my girl, and I was like, do you want to go visit some campuses? She was like, okay, let's go. So we went off and took off to Central State and Wilberforce in Ohio, Kentucky State, and Simmons College of Kentucky. The school was out. We just were like guerrilla style around the campus.
Wow.
But what kicked it off is I cover a lot of Black Americans in history who've made massive contributions to our way of life. And that's just the stories I'm born to tell. I can't explain it. But the common thread is the HBCUs. And when I realized how much genius comes from these places, and I've said it in my videos and I will say it here, I think Black women have a higher propensity for math, engineering, and physics than just about any other group. Because their level of intelligence, Dr. Gladys West, Valerie Thomas, it's off the charts. Brilliant. Virginia State and Hampton. And it's just, I fell in love, and some people support college and pro sports. I just fell in love with HBCUs, and it's not mine to ask why. It's more how can I serve.
That's it. That's oh my God, that is so profound right there. It's not about why. Say that again.
I said, when I finally accepted and got down, I said, on my knees actually, and I accepted it's not about the why I'm doing this, but how can I serve? How
How
can
can,
I help? And my life changed.
Jesus, that is awesome. If you don't ask the why and just worry about how you can serve or be of service, I tell you,
God's amazing.
yes, he is. Yes, he is. And how could one not want to serve? Serve him.
Well, can
He's
I tell
so
you? Huh?
I think he's so amazing. But the thing is, you have so many that's afraid to walk the walk because there's not enough of us that's actually talking the talk and also walking the walk. We have to show compassion. We have to show empathy to one another. You can't say that you love God and hate your brother or your sister. That's not what you can do. You can't say that you serve God and can't forgive because he forgive us on a daily, no, on a second by second basis. I won't even say hour. I'll say second by second because we fail him daily, you know? And it's
Oh,
just, oh man, mm, he's
can I
amazing.
add, can I add a layer to this HBCU thing?
Absolutely.
You've heard of ESPN Game Day, right? Like they go to Saturdays, each campus. We want to do what's called the HBCU Travel Challenge because we want to be the first to ever go to all 100 campuses. So I'm literally trying to work to find partners because we want to take off for the 4 or 5 months and literally start doing like 5 or 6 campuses a week, but shine the spotlight equally on Langston out in Oklahoma, Bethune-Cookman or Bennett, the small women's school, shine it equally on them as I would Spelman, or you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I just want each school to have that mini documentary in their life and the alumni, and it exists a record and people can start to see it. But I think it's just a great way for people to appreciate them and draw attention to them. And the only way I know to do it is just go knock them out, just build and build and build momentum,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm working to find partners for, but have fingers crossed on that. But that's our goal. And as soon as it is, we're off to the races.
But we're not going to do the fingers crossed. We're just going to tell God what we want.
In his time, he'll give it. My schedule and his are different. I know that I'm impatient, but you're right.
Yeah, we just gonna tell him what, we could go and talk to him just like, he's our daddy. We could go and talk to him and tell him what it is we want. Even when we're hurting and we're upset with him, we still could go to him and tell him. He knows anyway, right? But I really pray that you guys get to do this. And if anyone that's under the sound of our voice want to partner with Mr. GW on this movement, I think is a great movement because a lot of HBCUs do not get that much recognition. Like, I know everybody is so crazy about the pro level, but I think, and when, we started back up our NFL Mom show on Monday, and we all said that we think some of the best times were the collegiate years, not even the pro level, I mean, it was just fun, fun, fun. Now when you make it to the pro level, everything it's a business, so it kind of takes away the fun a little bit. Not for us, but well, yeah, for us, because when we see our sons go through it, we're it affects us as well. But let me tell you something. My sister-in-law, she went to Bethune. My sister-in-law and my sister went to Bethune-Cookman. And they, oh my God, when I think it was Ed Reed, when he went there to coach, my heart was so broken because the thing is, I met him and I had a chance to talk with him. You see what I'm saying? And these people were not looking at who that he was coming to serve. They thought that he was bringing problems there, from what I gather, not knowing that this man could have changed that program tremendously. And the people that he had behind him, I mean, it would have been amazing because one thing about the University of Miami, their ball players, they stick together like glue and they all show up for each other. So that was a bad move for Bethune-Cookman, but I just think God had bigger plans for Mr. Ed Reed. But that thing it just shook me a little bit. So what do you think about that?
Well, first off, it's Ed Reed. I mean, dude's got the coolest hair and hats there are,
Yeah.
It's I try to think if I have an opinion or I'm just sort of speaking for the sake of speaking. It's hard to say coming up in the schools like I did. It's a different experience, and I'm learning to keep my mouth shut because mine is not like other people's. I've learned my opinion does not always need to be heard, so it's hard for me to say on that actually.
Well, it's okay. Just tell us all the HBCUs you visited thus far.
That would be easy. Wilberforce, Central State, Kentucky State, Simmons College of Kentucky, been to Lemoyne Owen in Memphis, Harriet Stowe in St. Louis, Lincoln University. I've been to Arkansas Baptist, Philander Smith, and Shorter, but I haven't got the videos done. I've been to University of Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Morris Clark, been at Spelman and Morehouse, but didn't get videos. And then we went to Fisk University and Tuskegee so far. We're going to this weekend to see Mississippi Valley State, North Carolina Central, and Indy at Lucas Oil. We're going to Central State's homecoming at the end of the month, and then Tennessee State's homecoming in Nashville at the middle of October. So far.
My God. Wow.
This Memorial Day.
So let me ask you this. How is it? Do you have any connections at these schools you go to, or you just show up?
Just now I'm starting to develop them, but no, for the most part, I just built my credibility, and I didn't think about this. I just went to whatever schools were nearby. I didn't think about Howard or Morehouse, like who they are, prestige. I didn't think about that. I just went by proximity, but I cut my teeth that way. And I'm so glad I did it that way. Does that make sense? Like I'm seeing HBCUs with 100 students on campus. Right. Morris Brown, they're turning that program around big time. Dr. Kevin James has bit that bone. I mean, that man is committed to turning Morris Brown because they lost their accreditation in the scan, which there's actually something about that scandal most people don't know. The woman that embezzled the money from the school didn't go to prison because she never profited. She put all the money back into the bills for the school. Now, it hurt a lot of people, big mess, but the judge didn't send her to prison because she tried to keep the school open with it. Does you see what I'm saying? Even during a crime, there's still humanity, her intent. And that's why the judge gave her house arrest for a year. But that story never really got told on Dr. Dolores Cross.
Now, you see that? That is the thing. Some stories, that's why I'm telling you, we can't judge a book by its cover. We cannot. Because just today, we were reading something, my mother and I, that my son sent, and we're looking at it, and it's a clip. Now, you just watch the clip, but you don't hear the entire story. So the thing is, we're going like, oh my God. Like it was a young man whose mother, she set her son up to get killed by her boyfriend for the insurance money, right? But that's, they show the juicy part, but then you don't hear everything else. So once I said, let me find this story and let me go read, you to hear it. So I looked on YouTube and I found it, and just to hear everything that he was saying and what transpired, I was like, oh my God. Now here's the thing. The thing is, everybody looked at the act, right? But nobody looked at what it was. Maybe this person, his mom had a sickness. Maybe, it's just so many things that it could have been. But, they don't want to show her mercy. Now get this. Yes, she may have tried to kill her son. Granted, that's something I would never even imagine. And it's sickening for me. You understand? But just to hear all the things that transpired in her life before, if you don't deal with that little kid in that trauma, it's going to come out as an adult. So what we like to do is point the fingers at people instead of hearing their story, even though nothing would change the mind of the people, because you tried to let your boyfriend murder your child. To hear what transpired before, him and this man actually had physical altercations, right? And as them having physical altercations, once I guess the young man beat up the boyfriend, the mother used to taunt the boyfriend and said, oh, that's why my son beat you up. You see that? That's antagonizing. So now I have to, I'm going to show you. So who's to say if it really was for the insurance money? We don't know. We do
We'll
not.
never.
We'll never know because only the two people that it happened with, they are the only ones that will know. But prime example, you cannot judge a book by its cover. They looked at what that man did, but not knowing that the woman was antagonizing him. Don't make it right. Do not make it right one way or the other. But God is his judge and not us, you know.
Nothing
And
happens in a vacuum.
and if the young man, can forgive the guy, who are we not to? Who are we not to? But let's roll. Is that your cat? Yeah, I guess he was. Okay, let's roll the next clip.
Am
So
I
cute.
so interested in historically black colleges and universities? I'll tell you. For one, I'm not an idiot. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think these schools are some of the crown jewels of the American college education system. If you watch any of my videos, you know that I love telling history stories. And as I researched so many of these men and women, the common thread I found is that most all of them went to HBCUs. So I started digging a little deeper on their college journeys, and then this led me to more colleges, and they crossed over with more colleges because a lot of these men and women stay within the HBCU system to help it out, to teach other students as they come up. And that led me to discover the sense of pride in the historically black college and university community. Then I discovered the Divine Nine and HBCU bands. Ooh, doggy, I might have bit off more than I could chew. Keeping it real with you, there is so much beauty in the struggle that these schools have had to go through from the 1800s forward. They started with no money. I mean, Booker T. Washington, when he started Tuskegee, his first group of students, they had a few outsheds, little buildings, not classrooms. Those students actually built the school while they were getting their degree there. And that was part of Booker T. Washington's philosophy about working and getting a hands-on education. Worked out pretty well, and I get to go to Tuskegee next week. I'm so freaking excited. These schools have been open to all races since they opened, unlike their white counterparts. They're underdogs, and I love to root for an underdog. And I'm really drawn to the sense of school pride, especially in their Greek sororities and fraternities, their bands, the way the alumni and the community stick together. I notice there's a lot of groups on Instagram and TikTok for school alumni and then groups of alumni. And then you have the Panhellenic Council, which is kind of the governing council of the Divine Nine. And I realized there's just an entire universe I didn't know anything about. And it really pisses me off. These schools have to beg for money from the federal government. The government just announced we made a $6 billion clerical error with giving aid to Ukraine. I want a congressman or senator to step up and give $500 million in a one-time grant to all the HBCUs. Split it up. They've been so overlooked. And they still have these amazing, beautiful campuses. They have some of the happiest graduates. It's hard to explain. It's just, I made a video about the history and I was blown away by it. And I came home Memorial Day weekend. I looked at my girl and said, do you want to go see some campuses? And she said she saw that little glimmer in my eye, that little mischievous spark. And she goes, okay, let's do it. And off we went. And now that I've been to several campuses, I got to see all of them. I've not been able to find anyone who's visited all the campuses. So I want to be the first. I mean, the irony is that I have blue eyes, but that's besides the point. I just want more people to see what I see in these schools. And I'm so excited to come see them. Hope that explains it for you. Have a great evening. This might be.
Wow. So now we heard it, the reason why you like to go to these HBCUs. Now, my question is, do you ever get with a group of kids and kind of share your experience with them?
Absolutely. Antonio Sweeney, I met this weekend from Morehouse. Dontavia Scott from Albany State are two in particular I sat down with. And one is political and business minded. The other is like PhD medical school, completely opposite schools and everything. But we had such fascinating conversations. One is 19, one is 27. You know, I'm 52. were completely different races. One's from Michigan, one's from Georgia. So, and we just had fascinating conversations, just
Wow.
talked, you know what I mean? These young men are coming up and they're different than the young men I came up with.
Mm-hmm.
So I talked to as many as I can, student government officials. I'm at the royal court. Now I understand exactly how the royal court works. Yeah, I absolutely interact as much as I possibly can.
Now, those bands, I'm telling you, some of the bands, whew, I tell you, they have some really great bands and they be rocking. I remember, I think every time, well, University of Miami, no knocks to them for their band. When Bethune-Cookman used to come, oh my God. I think that was that almost was better than the game was, but just, you say you experienced the step shows, not just the step shows, but the classics. I hear the classics be really, really big. I never been to one, but I just hear they be so big and so nice. And you get a chance to experience all of this. But I think it would be so great if you could kind of get a couple of kids from each school to kind of join forces with you all. And I think this movement could go through the roof, especially by you connecting with some of the kids who actually attend the schools, and just to get that, like you do the interviews that you do, get their experience of the school, because they do not get too much recognition. It's like it's swept. Now it's starting to get more, but before it get more, you get out there and do exactly what you're doing. It's amazing what you're doing. So
People
amazing.
people don't realize getting out. I've had dinner in people's homes that are different race than me. My girl Ann and I, we go in. I've taken my puppy and they have puppies. One was a prison guard of 30 years. I'd never met him before. I'm walking into, shout out to Joyce, I'm walking into their home and her husband's really leery about this at first, but we hit it off. I'm an ex-con, he's a CO. But you know how rare that is? Much
Yeah.
less white and black, but ex-con, like that's what it's about. It's about fellowship. We broke bread. That's how you deal with this, is you get out and get to know other Americans
Yep.
who don't look like you.
That's
And it's
right.
wonderful.
Mm-hmm. That is so true. I was reading, I can't remember what scripture that was, but it basically was saying how we should not treat someone better because of maybe their financial status or even whatever they title. Everybody should be equal, because that's how God sees us. He don't see a doctor or, no. He see all of us equal, and it's so disheartening. And I see you had a video about DeSantis, and I just didn't want to touch that because it he really could rub me the wrong way. I definitely want to bring you back because we're right here at 7, and we are over a little bit, but I definitely want to bring you back because you have some amazing content and you have so much to put out there. So maybe next time when you come back, we'll just solely focus on all of the HBCUs that you visited. So what I want from you is for you to gather that information and get that over before, whenever you book again, and we'll just solely focus on that, because at the end of the day, we need light in this world. We need happiness and we need compassion, empathy, all of that, and just to see you having the things that you're experiencing with these kids, you don't know the impact you're making on them. It probably something good for you, but it's a greater experience for them to actually sit with you and see who you are. You shine a light for so many others. And
Thank you.
that's, you're most welcome. That's one of the things we definitely have to do. Let's see what our guest is saying. My viewer is saying. She says, love the band's attraction. Yes, absolutely. Please come back. See, she say, please come back. We'll love for you to come back. But see, we also have reviews here to let us know how we're doing. And I just want to play this clip really quick because Mr. GW, I want you to see that our viewers is really loving what we're doing here. It had to happen. It was slow for a moment, but I see God is really picking, things are picking back up. I was in isolation, and we all know isolation do not feel so good. But let me tell you something. It was some lonely days, yes, but some of the best conversations with God I heard clearly. I came out more bolder. I used to be, I wouldn't say so much, Now I'm very, if I see something is not right, I say it. I don't shy from it because guess what? At the end of the day, I go away with my feelings hurt. And those people going on about their business being just as happy. And I'm the one is over here in the corner. But no, let me tell you something. Isolation was definitely something. If God ever puts you in isolation, do not fall. I'm telling you, something great is gonna come out of it because God do some of the best work in the uncomfortable place. So let me show you one of our reviews here. It goes to Mr. Daryl. What is Daryl last name? I'm sorry. Let me put him up here. Really.
IH2H 5-star review from Daryl Coleman. The authenticity of It Had to Happen will have a profound impact on everyone who listens. To be able to hear and learn from the stories of others is awesome and is greatly needed in our communities. Thanks, Erica, for adding great value to our lives.
All right, guys. So if you would like to do a review, you definitely can go over to our Google page and leave a great review. We'd like to know what we're doing, how we're doing here. If there are any improvements that need to be made, please be very open with us. It will not hurt our feelings. It will just make us better for you. We get on here Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursday, Mr. GW. And on a Tuesday, we have our prayer broadcast where God is definitely doing an amazing thing. It's called Girl Talk Tuesday with Dr. B. And I'm telling you, God has truly, truly been moving on that broadcast. And on Mondays, Mr. GW, we also have our NFL Mom Show that will be returning back on Mondays at 6 p.m. However, our Wednesdays and Thursdays is open. And if you would like to book, you could go to my website at www.ericawilsonih2h.com. Again, www.ericawilsonih2h.com. We'll love to have you. It's not all about your pains. We showcase businesses, whatever it is that you would like to share here or It Had to Happen, you're more than welcome to join us. So, Mr. GW, is there anything that you would like to leave with our audience on today?
Yeah, I want to tell you, you're from Atlanta or live in Atlanta, right? I just want to let you know there is an it happening in your backyard. It's happening in the moment, a good it. And his name's Milani D. James. And I literally wanted to make sure I mentioned this young 13-year-old hydroponic farmer who's literally feeding Gwinnett County with the food he grows. That's an it it's going to happen. It's happening. I've made predictions. He's the next George Washington Carver. I'm just telling you, it is a genius, and he lives in your backyard.
Oh, is that the young man who lost a home?
Mm-hmm. He's working to build his own hydroponic.
I've been trying to get him here. I really been trying to get him.
I'm talking to him on the phone after this a little while because he's going to call me. Absolutely, Milan will. I told him I'm doing this podcast. I know he's already looked you up. I'll absolutely have him reach out to you.
Oh my God. When I saw that, my heart broke because I also, not only did I was trying to get him here, I was trying to get them some things. Like I'm in the Atlanta, I'm not from here. I just moved here probably a year and a half ago, but I was trying to get, because he's such a cutie, guys. Oh my God. And when I saw that story, I think that's how I found you, when you put that story up. And just let me tell you something, everything just tied into place. I would love to have him here and to know how it is that we can bless his family, because let me tell you something, taking a loss, there were plenty of times eviction notices were served with me and my children. And something like that, homelessness and things like that, it really touches my soul. So even if he don't want to come on IH2H, that's fine. I still want to bless his family.
He does. I mean, I've already talked to him.
Yes, and you're more than welcome to join him when he comes back if you like. I mean, it's totally up to you. But just no.
He is his own superstar. Trust me. That young man is like talking to a 50-year-old man. He is not a 13-year-old. He's already out of high school.
What?
I'm telling you, he is so next. He is such just a good and pure young man. Like, he is so focused on feeding and serving others. He doesn't focus on anything in life. At 13, he's about to turn 14. And I just want to say I knew him when.
Oh my God. If only she said, my Lord, my Lord, yes. So he's right here. In what area is it?
He's in Atlanta, Gwinnett County. I think
Okay.
Lawrenceville is where he is. So
Okay.
I'll absolutely, I know he'll do your podcast.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. But what I want you to do now, you told us about the young man. I just want you to speak to someone. I have a two-part that I'm going to ask from you. One, speak to that person that may have done some time in prison and still bitter about doing the time. And then two, I want you to highlight on what saved you.
Being bitter, life's not fair. My dad did drill that in my head. Life's not fair. And you want to be bitter. It's kind of hard to be when you accept accountability for your actions. I mean, the bitterness goes away. That's step number one. And number two, I realized that whole experience, as much as I hated it, gave me a strength and fortitude like I've never had. I lost everything in the process. Family, I lost it all. And that means you can't hurt me. You can't take from me. That made me strong. It gave me courage, and it made me fearless. So to me, prison has a lot of benefits.
That is it, guys. If you miss the first part of this podcast, you definitely have to go back and watch it, because you will understand what Mr. GW is saying. He has a story, an amazing story. Probably most of us wouldn't have survived. And just hear about some of the things. I know I have a lot of football fans on here right about now, but just some of the things that transpire where he was when he was in prison, some of the things that happened. In order for you to find out, you have to go back and watch this broadcast. Also, if this broadcast has truly been a blessing to you, please do share it with others. Mr. GW also will have that link, which I sent to you, which is that YouTube link. You're more than welcome to use it at however you would like. All we ask is that you tag It Had to Happen. And we look forward to having you back here. And I not only want to have you, I want your girl here as well. Anna, where are you? I want you here with Mr. GW. Oh my God, because she got a chance. She's experiencing this with you. So we'll love for you both to come back and we'll walk through the things of the HBCUs. Let's see what they say, wow. And that's Miss Karen Reese. She's a huge football fan. On college level, she has a program called Can We Talk Sports? Amazing. Miss Money Rose, she says, totally agree. And then she also said, yes, so you have to come back, Mr. GW. They're wanting you back. And Miss Karen says from Arkansas, yeah, he said,
Go Hogs.
So yes, we'll you can still use that same link to go back and book, and we'll love to have you back. It was such a pleasure sitting here and an honor to sit here with you on tonight. And I look forward to hearing from our little president. That's what I'm gonna call him, our little president. And if we could be of any help, if you can send me over your mailing address. Did we lose them? Oh my God, I think we lost them. But if you can hear me, Mr. GW, if you can send me over your mailing address, I'm going to get something in the mail over to you.
There we go. Sorry.
There we go. Yeah. If you can't get me over your mailing address, I'm going to send a little love token over to you. And I hope you enjoy when you get it. I see you did the research on me, and I just thank you for my flowers that you gave me in the beginning of the show. God bless you. And we do not like to leave this broadcast. Let's see. We have one more comment, and it says, she's from Arkansas as well. Karen.
I'm from Bryant, Arkansas. I know she knows Bryant, that tiny little town. But yeah, Morrilton. We used to play him in football.
Oh, look at there. We have someone else say, I'll definitely listen. So sis, what we're going to do, once he book, we're going to bless him on the show. So we can get together and think about what it is that we want to do. And if anybody else would like to join in, what is his name again?
Milan E.D. James. Milan E.D. James.
Okay. So Sir Milan, when he joined this show, we want him to leave knowing that he has a community that stands behind him. So if anyone else that's under the sound of our voice that would like to join in on this movement, I will also, you guys know that I put up the flyers when our guest is coming on. I will make a huge announcement when he's coming on, because listen, this young man and his family, how long ago was that, Mr. GW?
I think 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. I know they're in the temporary. I know that they're still trying to find a place because he has his farm, his plant stand. So I know they're still trying to figure it out. I mean, but they've at least got some cushion, but it's still a struggle.
My God. I didn't know it was that. Milan EBJ. Okay. Is that it?
Close. It's MALON and then ED James JAMES. But on TikTok, he's Farmer Milan, Farmer_MALON.
Okay.
And I can send you his socials too for that, because he's on Instagram also.
Okay. Awesome. So guys, again, if you would like to help out Mr. Sir Milan, his family, truly, I'm sure that they all will be grateful for whatever it is that we can come up and bless them with. You know, we never know. It could be us. You never know. So what we want to do here tonight, listen, the American experience. Let's be a blessing to someone. If you are blessed, be a blessing. So, Mr. GW, we do not like leaving this broadcast without sending it. They're on the roll, Mr. GW. Got it. Thanks, sis. You're welcome. We do not like leaving this broadcast without sending out some virtual hugs. Oh my gosh. So let's do the virtual hugs and some virtual love. Because guys, we love you here at It Had to Happen. Mr. GW, now we're looking forward to you coming back with us, as well as Miss Anna. Hi, Anna. If you're listening in, shouts out to you for standing behind such an amazing individual. God bless each and every one of you. Until next time, bye-bye.
Thank you, Erica.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. Thanks for coming on and accepting the invitation. Let me tell you something, Mr. GW. Not only did you bless my soul, but you also highlighted some things for me that some just probably do not know. And I'm glad that I asked the questions, because guys, if you missed, and I can't say this enough, the first part of this broadcast, go back to hear some of the things that Mr. GW shared leading up to where he is today. So the it's that happened in your life happened to you for you to share with someone else. Again, Mr. GW, thanks for coming on. Until next time, guys, we'll see you back here on Monday for our NFL Mom Show. We will be back, God's willing. We'll be back on Monday at 6 p.m. Until next time, guys, bye-bye.
Erica's Empowering Empire. 88 Blessings Soar Movement. It had to happen in a beauty so rare. We'd love for you to join us by subscribing to our YouTube channel, It Had to Happen with Erica Wilson. Following our social media.